Hey YouTube, it is a brand new season of GBL, and with it comes a brand new meta and brand new teams. So in this video, we're going to go over the new top 20 Pokemon. We're going to go over a bunch of new teams with a bunch of new Pokemon that are in the top meta now, and we're going to go from there. So hit that like button for change, because that is what we're getting this season, somewhat change. Let's start with the what's not changed. So there's a couple Pokemon on this list that were already in the top 20 last year. Clodsire wasn't number one last year, but it was a basically top 20 Pokemon. It always had the bulk with a very, very fast charging Mud Shot and then Earthquake and Stone Edge. So now it just has Poison Sting, which was a Mud Shot clone, but now hits harder. So now it just has a fast move that still charges as fast, but hits harder with 2 nukes. And it's very, very bulky. So super, super strong Pokemon. It'll be everywhere. And with it, a lot of times you can potentially get Feraligatr as your safe swap. So Feraligatr is going to be like an OP safe swap. Nothing got nerfed here. Shadow Claw, Hydro Cannon, Ice Beam was already so powerful in the past. It was already like the go-to safe swap in Great League and Ultra League, and it's going to be a go-to safe swap again. So expect a heavy dose of Feraligatr. I skipped over Carbink. Carbink was top meta again. Rock Slide did get nerfed, but that does not matter when your bulk is off the chart, and you got like a hard-hitting Rock Throw, and then 2 moves that, yes, Rock Slide got nerfed, but Moonblast is still a good move. You are half Rock, half Fairy, so you get the same type attack bonus on both. So yeah, Bulk and Clodsire with a good moveset, Bulk and Carbink with a good moveset, great moveset in Feraligatr with one of the best charge moves in the game. Mandibuzz is your number 1 flyer. If you search flyers here, holy smokes. Wing attack nerf completely changed this meta, because before you had Mantine in the top like 10, Pelipper in like the top 20, Gligar in the top 10, but all these wing attacks nerfed them into oblivion, and Mandibuzz is the last flyer standing. You see Jumpluff at 17 as the other new flyer, but that's even, I mean, it's still half flyer, but it's half grass. Yeah, not many flyers. So Mandibuzz is going to be your probably go-to flyer now. Again, it'll be a nice pairing if you need a flyer. Plus, it just has that bulk and just to go with it. Plus, Dark Pulse is a nice move. Bastiodon, same thing. Stone Edge got nerfed. No, Smackdown got nerfed. But it's still, like Carbink, does what it's supposed to do. Has the insane bulk, hard-hitting fast move, and can just take a bunch of charge moves. So that is Bastiodon. Quagsire. I mentioned if you go look at my Pokemon video, the top 10 Pokemon the top Pokemon that I think are going to be meta for next season, Quagsire was still on the list. And the reason that, even though Mudshot did get nerfed, it's still, so instead of just going like 4-4-4 to Aqua Tails, you go 5-4-5-4. So you lose like 1 on the first and 1 on the third. And it's the same with Mud Bomb. You lose like 1 on the first, 1 on the second, I think, and 1 on the fourth. So you're still have everything good about Quagsire. Still got the great typing, good stat product. Mudshot, yes, it's nerfed, but you still get to these moves in a very, very fast manner. So Quagsire is not going anywhere. Azumarill has been in the top 20 since season 1, so there's no point in talking about Azumarill. It's just got bulk and decent moveset. Toxapex was, again, I don't know if Toxapex was top 20, but it was probably around like 30-40. So it's probably up a little bit there. And Gallade was borderline at like 20 last season. I think Gallade's a little overrated for what it is. But very, very, very fast charging and very hard hitting, but definitely needs shields. So that's what's old. What is new? Everything else. So let's start with the new normal safe swap. So the old safe swap that was a normal typing was Lickitung. So Body Slam got nerfed, and you see Dunsparce and Lickilicky up there, and that is because Rollout got buffed. So Rollout was a nice energy generating move, so you get to your charge moves quickly, but it did absolutely like no damage at all. So they buffed the damage. So now you're doing a fast charging move that does a little more damage, which is why these two Pokemon that were already sort of borderline, like Dunsparce was borderline as it was because it had great coverage. You had Ground for the steals and stuff, and then you had Rock Slide for the flyers. So it was just a great coverage move. So roll out there, and Lickilicky is just replacing Lickitung because you just it's not as bulky as Lickitung, obviously, but it still has that sort of same idea use of it. Only one typing and fighting. Buffed rollout. Body Slam is nerfed, but then Shadow Ball for coverage here as opposed to Power Whip. So those are your probably newish safe swaps, normal type safe swaps. Don't need to be safe swaps, but if you want to play a similar role to Lickitung, that's the way you probably do it. Your new fighters. So long gone are the days of Machamp, Poliwrath, and Annihilate. Those, all three of them nerfed beyond top 100. Hello, Pangoro and Machamp. And go again. If you want an in-depth analysis of why these are so good, I go over why Karate Chop is the most broken move, probably the most broken move in the game right now in terms of fast moves, in terms of how the speed, the turn, how long it takes, a 2-turn move here, and then the energy generation and the damage that it does. It's just a broken move. So when it's so broken, you get to these charge moves so fast. Only 4 to a cross chop and only 5 to a close combat Pangoro. Like they're gonna be everywhere. Just you probably want to make sure that you have an answer for at least one of them. I mean, the fighters, because they should be everywhere. And they're probably going to be paired with Clodsire. So if you can find core breakers, start looking for core breakers for that. Clefable, I'm not sold on. And if you go to, again, go check out that video. No. Fairy Wind is buffed. So that's part 1 why it got up. Part 2, Swift's got buffed. So now it's quicker to get to. So when you have a Fairy Wind that was already fast charging, and Moonblast is a great move. So now you have a fast charging fast move, which hits a little harder. Moonblast is a great fairy move. You don't have a ton of other just fairies that aren't just like charm users like Wiggly. So this is like one of your Fairy Wind users. And then Swift now gives you a bait move. So it gives you a bait move to use. I think it's a ranked number 10 because it has some wins that are bait dependent. So if you take that off, I think it drops. So just keep that in mind if you're going to use it. Malamar's at 12, but I think Malamar is still assuming a 2 buff to Psywave. So Psywave, like it was using Psycho Cut, which is a super fast charging move in itself. But now going with the 1-turn Psywave that is potentially double buffed. And if that is the case, you're getting to these superpower and foul plays quite quick, and you got a unique dark psychic typing there. Marowak. This is not the fire one. This is OG ground. Mudslap, Bone Club, Rock Slide. Mudslap buffed, Bone Club buffed. I'm going to do Beyond the Hype of all these Pokemon that got buffed. Yes, I'm going to do Machamp and Pangoro. The first ones I'm going to do, I missed Gastrodon. Sorry, I missed Gastrodon at 5. But basically, Gastrodon I'm going to do first. Because the reason Marowak is so high, and sorry, I skipped over Gastrodon at 5. Mudslap got double buffed. It was already such a hard-hitting move to start with, but terrible energy generation. So 1, they give it more energy generation. And 2, they made it hit even harder. So in all the sims, you're going to see Gastrodon on a team, and just like the sims, it's supposed to be like almost everything except for just grass. So I'm going to do Beyond the Hype of these Mudslap users first, because it seems like this could potentially be like a second broken fast move along with Karate Chop, which is why Marowak and Gastrodon are on there, because Mudslap is going to slap with some energy generation now. Jumpluff jumped up for 2 reasons. 1, I think, is the Fairy Wind. Got a little bit of a damage output increase, so that's why it jumped up a little bit for that. The second reason is you need a answer to a lot of these Pokemon, and there's not a lot of flyers, right? So Jumpluff is a half flyer. It is very, very bulky. It has Aerial Ace at 5, 5 Fairy Winds, and Fairy Wind is, again, so it's a 2-turn move, so fast charge into Aerial Ace. Energy Ball is a good move too, and you got some bulk behind you. So being very, very low on flyers this season, Jumpluff jumps up. And Drapion, I think Drapion is going to be a very, very, very strong safe swap. It was already a borderline safe swap, but now Poison Sting got a little bit of a buff. So now you're doing a little more damage with those Poison Sting, but you're super, super spammy. Octail Crunch, you can also run Sludge Bomb as well. I think it's going to be a great safe swap. Okay, let's look at 7 teams I got. So I started with Machamp because Karate Chop is broken, and the suggested pairing is Clodsire. Why is that? Because Machamp is weak to a couple things, Flying and Fairy. So how do you beat Flying and Fairy? You get a poison typing that resists the Fairy that also has Stone Edge. That's how you beat it, right? So then you need a safe swap, and I just chose the #1 safe swap in the meta for Alligator. So that is the team. Basically a balanced core of Machamp and Clodsire. You can lead with whatever. I would probably lead Machamp just to like, the thing with them back is like you have, if you lose the lead, you can like potentially safe swap for Alligator. Well, I was gonna say, unless it's like a kind of unique one. So there, where you're gonna see some core breakers, like Jumpluff, right? Jumpluff would be a little tricky for this team because you have Machamp, which couldn't really do much against it. You'd have to throw like the Stone Edge, which you could get to pretty quick now. And then for Alligator is weak to grass. So again, for Alligator is a pretty good safe swap, but there will be some core breakers here. And I think when people start to build these new teams, everyone's going to start building meta first. You're going to see a lot of Clodsires, Machamps, for Alligators, all the meta. And then you're going to start to think, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do beyond the hype of all these Pokemon. I'm going to be like, okay, what am I seeing a lot of? What are some core breakers here? So that's how we're going to do this week. We're going to start with Beyond the Hype, looking at all these buff Pokemon, and then we're going to go into like, okay, let's start core breaking this stuff up. So that is Machamp. Team 2, I start with Marowak, which I think is like very underrated. I understand why it's going to potentially have some problems. Right, Clodsire is #1. You got Carbink at #2, which is going to beat you. You got for Alligator as a water #3. So I understand why it's lower. Like you can just see right there, like, oh, there are all your losses. I still think it's be really good. Fire Spin buffed, Bone Club buffed, Shadow Bone was always a good move. So really good, strong. Again, weak to rock, weak to ground, weak to water. So 2 Pokemon that need to cover all those. I started with the Zoom because Azumarill's got the bulk. It can mirror match sort of water. It can be ground with bubble and ice beam, and rock as well. So, and then the second Pokemon I put in was, okay, if you do see a Lantern got nerfed, so I'm expecting less of them. But if you see a Lantern, let's have an answer for Lantern. And Chestnut could be a kind of sneaky one as a grass fighter in this meta. Again, most people are going to be looking for the fighters in Pangoro and Machamp. So Chestnut, again, is a half fighter, so you could catch him off guard with that secondary grass typing. If you got Frenzy Plant on it for the community move, that is what makes it very strong. Okay, remember on page 1 when I said Gastrodon and Marowak as Mudslap users are potentially broken? Here's the Gastrodon Sims in the one shield. And basically you lose to Mandibuzz as a flyer because you're just mudslapping and ground most of it. And then you just have a body slam. And then Jumpluff, which is a grass. And it says you beat everything else. Again, I've used Mudslap users in the past here, and they suck. It's just very hard hitting, but slow energy. And now they're double buffed. Like I said, they're getting more energy, and now they're getting even harder hitting damage. So when you see that sweep down the board, that is very, very interesting. Obviously, it's beating what I just said in the top is Machamp and Clodsire combo. So when you only have one weakness in grass, and there's not a lot of grass in this meta, Gastrodon as a mud boy is going to slap. So if you're just weak to grass, have 2 answers to grass. Now Skunk is 1 because it's poison, so that's like a pretty direct answer to that. Aurorus is an interesting one because I have put it in because it's a core breaker for others. So it is rock, so you are also weak to grass there. So you're ABA weak to grass. So if that's the case, you might want to lead Aurorus in case you see a grass on the lead. Or no, you can lead it in this case and just safe swap Skunk. You can do either or, quite honestly. But your backline is potentially a little weak to Steel. Now I don't know how many Steels we're gonna see this season. See, Registeel, you can see the loss there. Registeel beating both Skunk and Aurorus. Registeel got nerfed, AC and such is the second one where you see double weakness there as well. So if you don't want to use Aurorus and you're still looking for that sort of ice answer, Dugong will give you a little more coverage here because Aurorus only has an ice and rock type move, but then Dugong is on a later team, has a ground type move, so that'll give you a little more steel coverage. So if you want to put in a Pokemon that probably has a little more play, your Dugong probably will. So this one I started with Clefable, and again, I think some of this is bait dependent on the Swift, so I'm not totally sold on it, but we're going to test it out. Again, if you're going to run it, you're going to have problems with steals because you won't have any moves for steals, so put in Quagsire, you can put in Gastrodon, you can put in Whiscash, you can put in any Mudboy, or any like Clodsire, like any ground type Pokemon to deal with that. And then I was like, what can I potentially use as a Stay Swap? And again, they recommend a bunch of stuff. But I wanted to try Drifblim. And the reason I did is because I think it's going to be one of the sneaky ghosts that rise up. If you, again, watch my Pokemon that I think are going to be meta next season video that I posted last week, I said there's going to be a ghost that rises up. And I said, I don't know which one it is yet. There's a lot of options. There's like Golurk as your Mudslap user. There's a bunch of Astonish users. I was going to say Dusclops, but that's not right. Dusknoir. So I think Drifblim has the potential to be one. Again, on paper, it's not the greatest, but if you get a little bit of energy advantage, it probably flips some of those matchups. So potentially going to use that as a safe swap. Definitely one I want to test out. Speaking about a safe swap team, somewhat, I started with Shadow Drapion, even though it is probably going to play the role of safe swap. And again, when you're going to play the role of a safe swap, this is kind of what your Sims looks like in the one shield, one energy. So this is why a lot of people, when you go to, if you're using like resources like PvPoke and you're just simming in the one shield, even energy, you're going to look at Drapion and be like, yeah, that's not that good. But Drapion's rarely ever used on the lead like this. In the even shield, even energy scenario, you're usually probably 1 Poison Sting or 2 Poison Sting ahead, and that's going to change a lot of matchups. So I think Drapion's going to be very, very strong. I put in a second safe swap in Dugong, and then paired it with, if you're going to have a little trouble with steel here, let's test this new Marowak out to see how much it can slap. So very, very different looking meta compared to last season. This one is essentially a balanced team with Lickilicky as a safe swap. So I probably started with like Whiscash probably. I basically, the thought process was I want to just put out a team that was Swampert, Skarmory, safe swap, like Lickitung. So Skarmory nerfed, about all the flyers nerfed. Already talked about Mandibuzz. I want to try Jumpluff because I think it's got way better coverage. So there's your flyer in Jumpluff. Throw in Gastrodon, throw in Quagsire, throw in Swampert, throw in Whiscash. Choose your Mudboy or ground type Pokemon of your choosing as the other option. And then number 3 is a safe swap. I'll try Lickilicky. You can try Dunsparce. Let's test out these new normal type Pokemon that are potentially going to be safe swaps here. So that is the thought process behind this balanced team. And one more for you here. So we go to number 7. If my thing will work. Golurk. I test with Golurk because Golurk is another one of those Mudslap users. Very, very, very glassy. So if you're going to be that glassy, weak to water, weak to grass. So put in Toxapex and Superior, both bulky, both kind of handle the weaknesses that Golurk is going to potentially see. So man, this is looking different, right? This is a very, very different looking meta from previously, which is great. So we'll test out a bunch of these Pokemon, like Guaranteed, Gastrodon, Pangoro, Machamp, Marowak, maybe one or both types of Marowaks. Probably do Lickilicky and Drapion. I'll probably do almost everything, right? I put out 2 videos a day. So if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. You're going to get a very in-depth analysis of all these new Pokemon, and lots of these videos coming in the next 7 days here. So for those of you who are new to this channel, two things that I've mentioned a lot here. Beyond the hype. What the heck is beyond the hype? So, politely, I understand why content creators play the game, the YouTube game. You're going to see a lot of content creators talking about how every single one of these new Pokemon is the best thing in the world. Not every one of these Pokemon can be the best thing in the world. But they're basically just hyping it up to get you to click on their videos because that's the YouTube game. I get the YouTube game. So I created a video series called Beyond the Hype. What that does is we look at these Pokemon, cut through the BS of the hype of YouTube game, and just actually look at here are the pros and the cons and pros of this Pokemon. Here's why it works. Here's why it doesn't work. This is how you need to team build with it, stuff like that. So that is what I do with Beyond the Hype, the series, with either brand new Pokemon or Pokemon with new moves and season turnover with a heck of a lot of new moves here. We will test that out. I said there's two things. That was basically the main one. And I do put out 2 videos a day. And if you want to submit some of your battles, link in the description. So that is it. Let me know in the comments below if you have a team you're going to start with or a Pokemon that you really want to test, or if there's something not in the top 20 that you really want to test out. Like I said, the A Marowak's not on this top 20 list. I'm going to test it out. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what this meta turns into. I'm excited. Anyways, that's enough blabbering. Thanks for watching. See you guys on the next one.